just want to do sort of a high-level presentation of some of the trends we're seeing in the real estate industry, both within sort of the FinTech or finance side, but also more broadly, as we're definitely seeing a lot more attention here, both from startups as well as from the industry itself, where we're on attention on sort of innovation. So, stepping back and just understanding, real estate as an asset class, it's massive, right? I mean, this obviously includes residential, commercial, agriculture, forestry, but you compare that just to gold, and it's pretty incredible. Obviously, big numbers are one thing, but actually seeing where dollars are spent is another. But if you can also think about real estate, in terms of market share and where different parts of it, residential, of course, accounting for the majority of it with various geographic weights, China and the U.S. obviously being notable sort of for their near equal value with significantly different population sizes. But when we think about it from a technology standpoint, Mark Andreessen, for example, had a really great conversation with the Recode at the Code conference recently, where he discussed a lot of different sectors that have been slow to adopt to technology and change, and I think one of the notable sectors in this discussion was real estate and construction. So when we think about it just from a startup perspective, what are we seeing? One, we're seeing a lot more interest, as I mentioned. This is just news mentions related to the term real estate technology sort of growing to more increased attention as of late when you look at just sort of the attention on the space. Obviously, there's already been some pretty big wins in the real estate technology market for venture investors and startups. If you think about companies like Zillow and Trulia, which was later also acquired by Zillow, but there's been some notable sort of exits now. But we're now seeing sort of a different type of crop of companies now emerge in the real estate industry. Obviously, commercial real estate is much more complex and has been proven to be sort of more difficult nut to crack. I think there's some notable companies that are working in this space, but just because of the opacity and the processes, there's a lot of different reasons as to why this is. Globally, if we think about just the numbers, we've seen about $2.7 billion of funding in 2016. We're actually seeing more deals this year than we have last year, so it's sort of an exciting area we're seeing in terms of where venture investors are interested. This is sort of just blowing it out when you look at just that full year number. So 2017, obviously looking like it'll be, seeing a lot more startup formation in the space. There's a lot of different companies and categories where we're seeing this happening. This is just 6 of, the few, but whether those are new investment platforms, whether those are brokerages, sort of new marketplace models like companies like Opendoor, whether those are in listings and mortgages. And you'll see here, we'll be chatting with Blend and a few others as well, but just sort of the different areas as well as globally, right? These are companies that are based in the US or China and India and a lot of different sort of markets as well. We put this map up yesterday, just breaking this area down, and if you look at just seed and Series A deals over the last 2 years in real estate, what are the themes that are emerging? And there are quite a few, and not all are covered here, but sort of there are a lot of prominent areas where we're seeing more startups emerge. Obviously, you'll start to see probably companies sort of blend between some of these as they grow. We're also seeing a lot of interest from prominent investors like Andreessen Horowitz, from firms like Bessemer Venture Partners and others on this space. And we're also seeing sort of the incumbents jump in, whether those are firms like Macerich or CBRE, which has made a number of acquisitions like Floored and a few others. And a lot of traditional companies are also very interested. Blackstone, for example, works very closely with a company called VTS in New York. So quite a few different sort of strategic partnerships emerging as well. But this panel will focus on mortgages, and when we think about real estate from the finance perspective, what's developing, and we're seeing new investment platforms, companies like Cadre and others. Cadre, for example, is a tech-enabled investment platform connecting investors in the sort of commercial real estate market. We're also seeing, just skip this slide, but painted a target sort of on REITs and others, but very small now, but trying to reduce some of those investment fees and bring more transparency to this investment class. Also, sort of new models of investment like Point, who I believe we had here as well at the conference speaking, sort of unlocking home equity and investing in sort of a fraction of homeowners' homes. And what's developing, marketplaces owning the transaction. We talked a little bit about Opendoor, but providing sort of immediate liquidity to homeowners with this guaranteed purchase offer in a few different markets now. There's a great blog post, actually, when we send these slides out from somebody, an author wrote on Medium, breaking down sort of Open Door's business model based on some of the markets they're in and some of the public data that's out there. It's quite interesting in terms of how quickly they're turning over homes, as well as how quickly they're looking to purchase homes as well. And this panel will focus mostly on the mortgage industry, which is certainly getting a lot of attention. I think it's great to step back and just think about what the mortgage process looks like today, right? I mean, if Anna, for example, yesterday gave a presentation on hopefully one day we'll have the fully digital, more instant mortgage, but to get there is a long road, and there's a lot of reasons why, whether that's sort of loan estimates, processing, underwriting. There's a ton of different factors that go into this very complex process. So, a lot to think about there, which I know the panelists will definitely talk about. As I mentioned, we're seeing more startups in this space take on, a variety of different models, and we're also seeing bigger companies also make sort of bigger splashes in the mortgage market. We talked a little bit about SoFi, who I think in December said they were doing sort of monthly mortgage loan originations of around $1 billion. Sort of taking the data they have on student refi and tracking those customers to really better make make the mortgage process easier for them. And not on the startup side, but Quicken Loans and Rocket Mortgage, who we'll have here, and we'll talk a little bit about what they're doing, really sort of doing some very interesting things on the tech side as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Anna Maria, who will introduce our panel. Thank you very much.